Hey guys, John Adamson, the rehab and documentation guru, doing something that no guy should ever try, talking and backing up at the same time. Here we go. So, I'm going to talk today about handing off patients with a particular case scenario. I'm not exactly one to hand off patients, unless it's to my assistants, of course. I prefer to set up cases, hand them off, do reassessments. I get tired of doing the regular treatments, unless it's a really complex patient that makes me think every time I'm in there. Assessments make me think, and I'm a thinker. So I don't want to just kind of go through the routine. I like to set things up. But there are occasions when I think it's worthwhile turning patients over, and I'll give you a little scenario. So I have this patient whom I've seen twice before for fairly extended certification periods. I mean, I guess certs are constant. I should say episodes of care were fairly long. And the reason I saw the patient for so long was the patient's very complicated and a lot of medical things going on, and the assumption was that at some point the patient would stabilize medically and then be able to progress with rehab. But what became clear was that the patient was not going to stabilize. And the patient, just to let you know, is a young adult, but under the full care of her parents. And to say that the mother is obsessive, compulsive, is probably an understatement. I've never seen somebody so single-mindedly devote themselves to the care of a loved one as this particular mother. I've never seen the level of commitment, not just commitment, but just sheer domination over the case management of a particular patient as this mother. Her knowledge, first of all, far exceeds the average layperson in terms of the medical condition that her daughter has, medical stuff related to what her daughter has. I mean, if to hear her talk about her daughter, you would assume she was probably an MD, because she can whip off all sorts of terminology without hesitation. She does, and it's appropriate. And she'll say stuff, and I'll be like, huh? You know, and I'm not the dullest tool in the toolbox either. And to hear her talk, I'm floored with her knowledge level and her understanding of laboratory results and medication effects, and it's amazing. But with that comes a level of obsessiveness that is difficult to deal with. And one of the things that she has a hard time with is understanding the role of the different clinicians going in, because she assumes automatically that we're all going to be 100% concerned about every medical detail. Now, I am probably one of the most medically concerned physical therapists you've ever wanted to meet. I have a very high commitment to understanding what's going on medically with my patient. But with that said, I don't need to know every little detail about her bowel movements and things like that. And as the minute you walk into the house, it's this constant barrage of talk. The first time I went in to do an oasis on this patient, I probably spent about a half hour just listening. I kid you not. Just listening to the mother just talk on and on and on before I could start getting any questions in. And I've had to remind her on many occasions to please let me get through the questions, and what I'll do is I'll help you organize the information you're trying to pass on to me in a way that'll help me help you. You know, I'm Jerry Maguire. What can I say? So anyway, and that would be a constant thing. It wasn't just a one or two time thing that I had to remind her of that. It was every visit. I'd have to remind her. And when I have patients like that, generally I try not to turn them over to other clinicians because I'm not mean like that. Like I don't want to just make my problem somebody else's problem. And I'll just leave it at suffice it to say this patient was not rehabilitative capable and did not need me for maintenance either. So I looked at it from both aspects, and I educated the mother extensively on both aspects, um, and so I had to turn the patient over to an assistant at one point because she was really outside my area of coverage. For one, it was really difficult to cover her because of where she was located, and two, I just needed a mental break. And I'm fairly patient, and there's few people that I lose patience with. I had another case today where I basically lost my patience and politely told them the things that they have that are not appropriate. The caregivers mainly of this particular patient. But I'm usually very gentle when it comes to patients and caregivers and their education. But I was feeling like I was at the point of losing my patience with the mother. And at one point, and the patient has behavioral issues because the mother caters to every single need of this patient in such a way that unfortunately this young adult is a spoiled individual. And I had to basically say on one visit to this mother that it was okay to let this patient get mad and angry because she wasn't getting her every desire and whim met. Uh, I'm sometimes more lenient than I should be as a parent, and sometimes you do that for sanity's sake when you have 12 kids, but uh, there's a point at which you've got to put the hammer down, not physically, but you know what I mean. You got to lay down the law, and this patient had no law whatsoever to follow, and it made for a very difficult situation in dealing with the patient. And you know how parents will like uh, try to reason with their 2 year olds in the grocery store, and you hear these long discussions about from the parent with the 2 year olds as to why they should, listen to mommy. That's mostly mothers. And, this is what's going on. And trying to explain to a 2 year old why they should behave well when that's not what the 2 year old needs. Well, anyway, that's how this patient is basically treated. So, anyway, at some point, after seeing the patient for a long period of time, getting nowhere, I determined she's not hearing it from me, for one thing. So no matter how much I've educated her on the fact that her daughter's not rehabilitative and does not need me for maintenance, no matter how much education I've done, she is constantly calling the doctor to get new orders to have us come back in. And she had previously booted another therapist. And she got orders again. Her doctor sent them in. She requested me personally. And I asked my boss to run interference, and I asked another therapist to take the patient who is not entirely happy about taking the patient. But I told my boss I'm never one to shy away from taking a patient again, even if things didn't go great with them previously. But I told her that I really think the mother needs to hear it again from another person. And I said also, there's a possibility, and here's another reason to get another set of eyes. Maybe I'm missing something. As good a therapist as I may think I am, I'm not the best in all areas. And this other clinician is very experienced, very good therapist. Maybe she'll see something that makes her think, okay, we got some things to work on. And maybe she'll establish a better rapport. And maybe uh, she'll get somewhere with the patient. I don't know. I just don't know. But I'm hoping will occur is that by hearing it from another therapist, the mother will realize that we've done what we can. She has 24-hour caregiver support. She has tremendous levels of support for her daughter. That's her job. Her mother has, that's her job 24/7 to take care of her daughter. The father works from home. They have a volunteer. I think they may pay her a little bit, who comes in every day as well. I mean, the level of care, I've never seen in-home care for a person to this level. They're wealthy, so they've got, that going for them. So they've got all the possible bells and whistles that this young lady can hope for in meeting her physical needs, and as well as tools which we've educated them on for even just maintaining her where she's at. She's got bracing. She's got an outstanding electric wheelchair that tilts, reclines, elevates into standing, you name it. I mean, she's just got all this stuff. And I just don't see it. I don't see any opportunities for me to do anything for her. So at this point, I'm going to have another clinician see the patient. Now, ethically, we obviously have a responsibility. One, if we're going to take the referral, we better see the patient. And number two, ethically, if one clinician cannot do the job, then, they should get another clinician to take a look at the patient. And I have had other situations, not like this, where I thought the patient needed rehab, but I could not see how I was going to get the patient rehabilitated. And I asked another clinician to take a look at them. And that's ethical. When you realize that you are not the end-all, be-all of therapists, and you look outside yourself for opportunities for the patient, that's just a win-win for everybody. And I've learned in those situations when I've handed it off to another clinician, say, hey, I'm not seeing it. Can you look at this patient? Tell me what you find. Tell me what you're thinking. And I've been blessed by that because I've grown as a clinician based on the learning I've gotten from them. And when things go right under that therapist care, I go, now I know better. And I will be a better therapist for it next time. This case is a little bit different than that. But I suspect that even with the other set of eyes, in this case, it's not going to pan out as a rehabilitation case. But you never know. Anyway, hope you're having a great day. Take care and God bless.